of them are still irrelevant. The pressure we place us on each other as men, the level of competition amongst men is shocking to me. The way we compete with each other, even with small things. And all of these things, they place a pressure on us as men and on how we can become effective fathers. Just a few examples from scripture that we see of a father and son relationships. It's amazing when you see Abraham and Isaac, and Abraham goes to sacrifice Isaac. And it's interesting that Isaac is so obedient to the father because of a close relationship that he had. And he has questions. When they ask the questions, the father gives him the answers, but he continues to avail himself as a sacrifice because of a close relationship with the father. How many of our children have that kind of relationship with the father? And we see Isaac and Esau and Jacob, and we see the whole story where the father bestows a blessing upon the children. And it's something that as men today we don't do. Who is blessing your children? Who speaks a blessing upon your children? And especially when as men we've left our position of being fathers. When we leave our position of being fathers, who is blessing your child? And we meet people who say, you know, I know my father. My father is a preacher at the particular church. But do we have a relationship with that child? And we need to speak a blessing. And we can have many other stories in scripture that we find of a relationship between a father and a son, and a father and a daughter. But then we also see what we call social fathers in the Bible. Fathers who step in and become father figures. We don't hear much about Joshua's father, but we hear much about the relationship between Moses and Joshua. And that's what we call a father figure that journeyed with Joshua to a point that Joshua was able to take over and became a leader of Israel. We see this father figure, Barnabas, to Paul. Barnabas journeys with Paul in his conversion and is mentored by a father figure. We see Paul and Timothy, and Paul is able to journey with Timothy and saying, this is how things are done. How many men in our churches who is journeying with them, who is journeying with young leaders that are coming up with great potential, but are confused on how to do things, who is available for them and working with them. Paul committed himself to Timothy and many others. And we see this with Joseph and Jesus. As we know that Joseph was not a biological father to Jesus, but Joseph was able to journey and even teach Jesus carpentry. And so there is modeling of genuine faith that is needed from us as men. And I want to say, by virtue of being born a man, you are born with responsibility. And you don't choose that responsibility, but responsibility chooses you. And so, there is an expectation of us playing a father figure role. And that's why as Heartlines we felt that this project called Fathers Matter is so crucial. How do we journey with men in our churches and help men become the father figures they are supposed to be? Because the expectation is there. And we need to be modeling a genuine faith, not just a faith that is taught, but a faith that is caught. Is there someone that is looking up to you and saying, I want to be like that man? I want to be like that man. And teach more biblical values and principles, and I think this has been mentioned earlier in this space. Encouraging spiritual disciplines like prayer and Bible reading. How many of our sons and daughters in the church that we take time to teach them scripture and to teach them the spiritual spiritual disciplines. Sharing of our own faith in stories and failures. One of the things that we don't want to share as men is our failures. And yet our failures can help the next generation not to make the same mistakes that we made. So, why fathers matter? We did a research, and the research has shown that children who grow up without the presence of a biological father or a presence of a man in their homes, they are being victims or perpetrators of gender-based violence. So if we want to end gender-based violence, we need to be present in the lives of children. And I always say, if I am not involved in my life, in the child of my life, and especially if it's a young child, I never made it involved in their lives. Think about that. If I abandon my own child, someone else is going to take that responsibility. And they might not take it the way we have done it. And so the first call that we're making is to the church, to say to all the men in the church, let us go back to our children. Let us go back to our children. Let us be involved in our children. It doesn't matter what happened between you and the mother. Your responsibility is to be a father. And sometimes we are fathers in the church, but we're not fathers at home. People clap hands for us in the church. People say, I look up to that father, but are your children at home saying the same thing? And so it's very important for us to be present, because if we don't do that, our children will be involved in drug and alcohol abuse. This is what research is saying. They say mental health disorders, especially suicide, majority of the young people that commit suicide is because their fathers are not present in their lives. Their fathers are absent in their lives. Teenage pregnancy, if you want to end teenage pregnancy, because if I'm not available for my daughter is going to look for a sugar daddy. Because they are looking for a father figure. And that father figure they will find in someone that does not have their best interest in heart. I have 2 daughters, and they are the best thing that ever happened to me. And they know that I love them. They don't need to be told outside that they are loved. If someone, if Joe tells them there that I love you, they know that they are loved at home. They know what love is. The best place for them to learn love is at home from their father. Because if they don't learn love from the father, they will be picked up by someone, and that person is going to abuse them. And so this is one of the things we need to know. Poor educational outcomes and economic results. It results in poor economic outcomes. So they say 90% of the children that drop out of school are children that are coming from fatherless homes. Because there's no father figure, there's no authority figure to say, this is how things are done. I have your best interest at heart. You need to go to school. We meet young men who are saying, I will not go to school, and there's no authority over them that can say, you are going to school whether you like it or not, because it's good for you. And so as fathers, we need to be involved in our children's lives. And because if we're not involved, the list is endless. They say 90% of the kids who are in juveniles are coming from fathers where there's no home. Are coming from homes where there's no father figure. When gangs are looking and are recruiting for people to join them, they look for homes that do not have a father figure. They look for homes where there's no uncle, because they don't want anyone that is going to intimidate them. So it's very important. That's why they say over 60% of children, especially in South Africa, I'm sure this is true in Southern Africa, over 60% of the children grow up without the biological father in the home. They say a home offense, when children are getting a birth certificate, the father is not there.
I will not go to this one. But I think one of the things that we really need to is first of all is becoming father figures. But second of all, becoming social fathers and stepping in when the father figure has neglected their responsibility, especially as a church. I think it was mentioned many times here that we need to be available. We need to be available and make an impact. But the second one that is so important, as men, we have not dealt with our own fatherhoods. As men, we are walking around and we are wounded because we did not have a relationship with our own fathers. I am saying this from experience because I had to deal with my own fatherhood because I could not understand why did my father deny me? Why did my father, what is it that was not good about me that my father would reject me? And I had to deal with my fatherhood. Before my father passed, I had to reconcile with him. Guess what? After I reconciled, I felt whole again. And what happened is that, on the day my father died of COVID, on the day my father died of COVID, the minister who was supposed to come and bury my father did not preach. So I ended up having to bury my own father. But it is because I had reconciled with my father. As men, we need to deal with our fatherhood. Because when we don't deal with our fatherhood, it manifests itself in our families. If my father was abusive, I become an abusive person. If my father was doing certain things, that neglect is spilled over to my family. And therefore, it's important for us as men to deal with our fatherhood. And so we've created so many of the programs. In conclusion, I want to say there is something in your hand that God has given you. As you journey with Him, what is it that is in your hand? You don't want to see silence. You don't want to see silence. And what is it that you are giving over to your children? What is it that you pass on? One of the passages that has been bothering me is God in the garden asked Abraham, which is Abraham, come back to your position. So we've got programs that we offer. We've created 7 films. As I conclude, we've created 7 films that we can support the church. We want to join with men in the church. We've got sessions, we come and we do workshops with you. But everybody is that we want to see men coming back to their families. We want to see men becoming the father figures they were supposed to be. This is a gift that the enemy has stolen from us. The gift of fatherhood. It is a gift. We cannot allow only now to steal the gift of fatherhood. Therefore, we come, we do workshops, we share films with you, and we do the kind of things that will help men get back into having a healthy relationship with their children. And may God bless us as we continue to do this. And God bless you.
Iman,